Young talent time, as that child, there was a presence about who you were and what you were doing. Was that always there?
I think so. I think they call that precocious.
Yeah, they do.
In France, they call it des précoces, des enfants précoces. Yeah, I must have been. I actually asked my mother one day, I said to her, or one day, I think I've asked her a few times, I said, Mum, what was I like? And she said, you were a pain in the ass. I was like, great. She just said, you just knew what you wanted. You were just one of those kids that wasn't demanding. I was happy, I ate, I slept, loved my food, but my music was my life. That was the way that I expressed myself. It's where I found solace, peace, friends, you know. I learned so many things through that art.
That said, people talk about life in the public gaze as a child and the difficulties that come with that. The privileges, but also the pressures, the way that other children treat you in some ways. That young talent time was huge in Australia. I mean, some people here would remember it, but it was massive. You know, and so what was it like?
Young Talent Time was an incredibly humble show, and it was run by a bunch of people that were probably, well, they were thinkers. So, but everything was very traditional, and it was really organic. And we didn't have the elements of social media, you know, you don't go, we didn't have any of that, so we were spoken to, and things that we needed to know, we learnt, and if there are things that we didn't need to know, they just didn't need to tell us, and we wouldn't find out, whereas today, you would absolutely have to inform everybody on anything, because one way or another, they are going to find out. So there was so much more that you were in control of, as opposed to where we are today, where there is no control.
Paris, France is such a big part of your life, and of course it's been in the news for all the wrong reasons in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Can I just ask you for a few reflections on that? For you?
Well, you know, it's one of those things that we've seen coming for a long time. You know, it's something that I've spoken about for the last 4 or 5 years, and it's a time bomb.
In what way?
Well, you can just sense it. You can sense an energy in a place very, very quickly changing, and it's been changing for a while. And, you know, I think that people are obviously, I think there's a big problem that we do have in the world is because we've let so much water go under the bridge, everybody is constantly hanging on to being politically correct, and in actual fact, being politically correct has not really got us anywhere. It's a very, very complicated subject. The complexities of it definitely far outweigh any immediate solutions. I think there has been an enormous amount of a lax attitude and great nonchalance, and also, what I will say, a lack of philosophical understanding. I think that's the greatest disappointment for me, because we clearly do not all think the same way.
When you return to Paris, what will be your sense to be back there after that's happened? Will it have changed?
Yeah, it's already changed. People are not the same. People are frightened. People are frightened of the future, and I guess they've exceeded their objectives, haven't they? Putting the world on their knees and playing with people's states of minds. I think that's, you know, that's the jugular, and it's there. People's states of minds are definitely thrown off balance. So, as an outsider, but who also is who understands that cultural fibre, I get a double whammy, because I have the capacity of being able to go in, see, but then be able to zoom out. So I do watch my friends. I'm watching them very closely at the moment.
Okay, on to brighter things. Congratulations for tonight. It's really a wonderful reflection of an incredible career that's gone into so many different places. You know, over 10 million albums that are sold around the world. There are so many people who have fallen in love with your music at many different stages of your career as well. That's what is so wonderful about tonight, I think. It's a reflection of all those different layers of it. Are there any questions before I let Tina Arena go tonight? Yes, can we get a question from the back? I will come to you. Question at the back.
Congratulations on the induction.
Thank you so much.
In your speech you did mention women in the music industry.
Yeah.
Are there any women in particular you think would be suited to a Hall of Fame in the near future?
I have to think about that. I mean, that's not something that I could answer you immediately off the cuff. You know, that takes a little bit of, you know, you've got to go through somebody's journey and be able to sort of. There is certainly an enormous amount of contenders, and there's some great females in this country, and they're only getting stronger. So yes, to answer your question, there are going to be a lot more.
Touching on that point that you made about women deciding when they're ready to give up, do you think Australian radio is being a bit ageist when it comes to women who have been in the business for a while?
Yes, I do believe that radio has been a little bit ageist, yes, I do. Yes. To answer your question, for me it is ultimately what it is about, and it's not I'm not, at the end of the day, my job is not to sit here and to tell radio how to do their job. That's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to make a very valuable point. Who decides in radio that a woman at a certain point in her life no longer becomes viable? Why, when a woman at a certain point in her life is no longer scared to say what she feels, to be able to express that, why shouldn't she be allowed that platform to be able to express what it is that she has to say? Why is it about our age, our looks, whatever it is? There is a big difference between a young lady of 20 years of age and a woman in her 40s who's lived and who has something to say. A woman in her 20s is in the middle of creating that journey. And that's not to say for 1 second that she doesn't have anything interesting to say. The contrary. Women and men of all ages have something interesting to say. But what I have struggled with is the complete ostracization of a woman at a certain age going, well, we don't really find you interesting anymore. Well, what do you mean by that? There is something that you need to be proud of as a woman. You need to be proud of your age. Man or woman, it's something that is just endearing, it's beautiful, there's so much to share, there's so much to learn, and I'm just a very open thinker, I guess, so I don't necessarily share the same point of view. I just want to be able to encourage people to think outside the box. That's all. That's all. It's really that simple.
All right, and on that wonderfully strong note, ladies and gentlemen, Tina Arena. Thank you very much.